All right, this might be kind of maybe one of the trickier problems. Uh, Not crazy, but a little tricky. Um, okay, so when you're solving inequalities, um, and you have like a quadratic or higher degree, or really when you have any expression like this that is either factored or could be factored, um, you always want to get it. You always want to get 0 on one side, and so this is nice. At least it already starts out with 0, so we don't have to get 0 on one side. Um, and then I hope Gillette taught it the same way. So this is something that you need to do a number line test for, or you typically do a number line test for. And the way you do it, a number line test. Hopefully she taught this, but if not, I'll teach this. Okay, so we got 0 on one side, which is what we want. After that, we put on the number line any number that makes a factor 0. So the number that makes this first factor 0 is 9 over 2. Just put that on the number line. And the number that makes this second factor 0 is -5. Like that. And then what you do is you plug in numbers. You see there's like kind of these two numbers separate the number line into 3 different regions. And the idea is you can plug in a number in each region here. And if the number that you choose makes this positive, then any number in that region will make this positive. Or if a number in that region makes this expression negative, that means any number in the region will make this number negative. Okay, so watch how this works. And this one's a little different because it has a square root, and it makes it a little weirder. But okay, so we'll pick just kind of randomly. So everyone will do this a little differently. Just pick numbers in each region. So this region is all numbers less than -5. So I'll just pick -6 as a test point. And then in between this region and this region, any number between -5 and 9 over 2. So 0 is kind of an easy number to plug in, so I'll pick 0. And then in this region, pick any number bigger than 9 over 2, which is 4.5. So maybe I'll pick 5. Okay, and then now plug these numbers, each of these 3 test points, plug them into this expression. And you don't care what the answer is, you only care if the answer is positive or negative. Okay, so just whether, when you plug in, like for example, -6 for x, you only care if this ends up simplifying to be something that's negative or positive. Okay. So let's do that first. So plug in -6. So 2 times -6 minus 9, square root -6 plus 5. Okay, you can see we don't have to do too much work because if you plug in -6, if you look inside this square root will become a negative. The thing inside the square root will become a -1, and since you can't take square root of negative, that means this is undefined. So if -6 is undefined, then any number in here is any number in this region less than -5 will all be undefined. And you can think about it, any number that you plug in for x here that's less than -5 will make this negative, which will make this square root undefined. Okay, so we'll kind of put an x in that region because those just give us undefined values when we plug those x values in. Okay, next one, plug in 0. 2 times 0 minus 9, 0 plus 5. Okay, so this one was undefined. Okay, the next one, this ends up being -9. And the next thing ends up being square root of 5. Doesn't matter that it's negative 9 square root of 5, the most important thing is that it ends up being a negative number. So just put negative up there. Okay, then we'll plug in our last test point, plug in 5. Okay, so 2 times 5 is 10, minus 9 is 1. And then times, this will be square root of 10. Again, doesn't really matter what it is, except that we got a positive number. Okay, so just to kind of recap what this is. So the fact that we plugged in a number in between negative 5 and 9 over 2, we plugged it in and it gave us a negative value. That means any number that we plug in between, any number that we plug in between, that's in between negative 5 and 9 over 2, will make this expression negative. Okay, the fact that we plugged in a number in this region, which is all numbers bigger than 9 over 2, we plugged it in and it made it positive. That means any number bigger than 9 over 2, if we plug it in here, it'll make it positive. Okay, so when they say solve the inequality and they have less than 0, so they want to figure out what values of x, solving this inequality is figuring out what values of x can we plug into this expression to make this less than 0 or negative. And you can see that this is the only region that has that if you plug in these values of x will make the expression negative. Okay, so that means the answer is going to be all the numbers from negative 5 to 9 over 2. Yeah, or you could write it as a compound inequality. Okay, and these wouldn't be less than or equal to. They're just strictly less than, because if you plug in, let's say you actually plug in negative 5, that makes this whole thing equal to 0, and then 0 is not less than 0. 0 is equal to 0. Or if you plug in 9 over 2 and for x into here, again, that'll make this expression equal to 0, but it wouldn't end up being less than 0. Okay, so this is probably the trickiest actual concept, and just so people know, if you end up taking calculus, this gets used in calculus a ton. This idea, this is like kind of a central kind of concept of problem solving in calculus.